What be Gucci, fam? Your boy J Sama's in the building today, and we're talking about another Watch Dogs topic. So on today's topic, we're talking a little bit about the usual Ubisoft downgrade of a lot of games. Now, it's very debatable. Very debatable situation. If you guys have come to any of my live streams, if you come to any of my discussions with anybody else in the Discord about what games Ubisoft does well and what games Ubisoft doesn't, yes, we can admit that the previous Watch Dogs did indeed have a graphical downgrade. Okay, we're willing to admit that. Yes. Okay, now let's get past that. Okay, now a lot of people like to use Far Cry as an example. That's one of the quickest ones that people throw out. Then Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is usually the biggest thing. People are just like downgrades and blah 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 blah. But some of you guys get a little confused with graphical downgrades and game downgrades. Okay, now we can 100% say that Ubisoft is guilty of some game downgrades, and I don't mean like Rayman. Rayman gets amazing, even more amazing every single time. So let's leave Rayman out of it. And then let's also leave Splinter Cell out of it, because Splinter Cell hasn't been made for a while, since Blacklist. So now we got a couple of things. We got Rainbow Six Siege, we got Far Cry, of course we have Watch Dogs, and we have Assassin's Creed. So let's go with these few ideas. And with Assassin's Creed, the problem with Assassin's Creed is it's gone from good, better, great, terrible, what the fuck, and why even bother. Those in chronological order are what happened with the Assassin's Creed games. And as much as I'm a die-hard fan of Assassin's Creed, I really am, I just don't see Assassin's Creed kind of flipping it and changing it around next year. But there's no, as far as I've seen, it really isn't much of a graphical downgrade for the Assassin's Creed games. Next up, we'll talk about Far Cry. Far Cry being one of the situations where there isn't a graphical downgrade, it's another game downgrade, where if you guys have played the first couple of Far Cry, I think the first Far Cry was a top-down, the second Far Cry game was only available on really older gens. Far Cry 2 really shows its age. That was more like a PS2 game put on the PS3. Like, it was just, man, that game was just, oof, all over the place. It was super buggy. Everything was just really weird about it. So you'll see a lot of people who play Far Cry now are just like, oh, Far Cry's always been amazing. Not if you played Far Cry 2. You must be new. So, and then Far Cry 3 came out, which was an amazing game. It was just great storytelling, great gameplay, great mechanics and stuff like that. Then, out of nowhere, it was just like Far Cry 4 kind of took Far Cry 3 and just redid it a little bit, put it in a new atmosphere, which is okay, because Far Cry 4 was great. It was definitely a great game. It was enjoyable. I had a lot of fun. I never finished it, unfortunately, because I didn't play enough of it. I still have it. I just haven't gone back and played it. And then you have Far Cry Primal. Far Cry Primal is definitely a game downgrade compared to Far Cry 4. Yes, it's a cool concept, cavemen, bows and arrows, clubs, and training animals and stuff like that. That's cool, which also stems into the previous Far Cry titles as well as Assassin's Creed. But we're not talking about the connections today. But there's not really much of a graphical downgrade there. You guys can't really look at one and look at the other. Is it a worse game than Far Cry 4? Yes, it is, because of all the missing content and the lack of actual development that's in there. They could have definitely added a lot more to that game. But other than that, it's no graphical downgrade. Now we look at Watch Dogs. Now the original Watch Dogs, yes, there was a downgrade from E3 to the actual gameplay, to when the game actually launched, which is understandable, I guess you could say. I can't really come up with an excuse why they would do that, but it's something that they need congruency, or parallel. They need parallel games, basically. You can't have the PC version looking super ultra hyper mega amazing, and then the PS3, PS4, well, obviously the PS3, the PS4 and the Xbox One versions of the game come out, and then they're Minecraft, essentially. That just wouldn't work. That's a little too unfair. So it's okay, maybe if we try to push the limits on the console version and then downgrade the PC version, nobody will ever notice because they're congruent. And unfortunately, that is an issue, because where a lot of people like to argue, yeah, sometimes graphics are not a big deal because gameplay is amazing. If gameplay, mechanics, and everything works correctly is amazing, I could care less about story and graphics. I really couldn't. I mean, given story does help always, but it's not so much like the core of it, you know what I mean, guys? As long as the game is playable. It's like when I did that would you rather challenge, and I was like, would you rather play a game that has great gameplay but a shitty story, or a game that has an amazing story but shitty gameplay and it's kind of broken and the mechanics don't work? Obviously, I would pick the game that fucking works, because otherwise there wouldn't be a game to play. There just wouldn't. So what? It has a shitty story, but I mean, I could grow to like it. I could grow to enjoy it. Is there multiplayer? How long can I play it? What type of game is it? So there's so many more factors there. But if a game is just downright broken, then there's no way I can play it. I just can't. That's like playing Naruto, that's like playing JoJo's, that's like playing any of these other anime-based games where the game is essentially broken. And it's like the mechanics don't work very well, the gameplay is kind of trash, but the story, I can fucks with the story. I can do the stories a little bit, baby. But other than that, I mean, it's one of those things where Watch Dogs 1 was a factor of, okay, we're running out of time, we need to get this game out. It was very ambitious. Watch Dogs 1 felt like a prequel. It felt like a game that had so many more immersive things to offer, but they just didn't do it. They needed to pull back. They needed to see how far they could go without overextending and doing too much. Watch Dogs 2, on the other hand, which has had so far no graphical downgrades whatsoever, at least not that I've seen, from the gameplay that was shown at Gamescom to the gameplay that was shown at E3. It's usually pretty congruent so far. I haven't seen any type of downgrades, although I will say the gameplay does look a little wonky. It looks like the camera angle is definitely, it irritates my eyes a little bit because it makes Marcus look super skinny, but the world looks super big and super vast and shit, you know? It's like looking through a little, imagine if you were looking through a telescope, right? And the object of a telescope is to make something that's extremely far away look close up. And binoculars also do the same thing, but it also gives you this fish lens vision where whatever you're focused on is the most focused thing and everything around it is kind of blurry. Now, or warped, I guess you could say. This has that type of feel, that type of look to it, where it looks like somebody photoshopped something and they used the trim tool and kind of just shrunk the entire picture down, making Marcus smaller, but the entire scene still looks like everything around him looks wide and spacious and congruent, and everything looks great around him. He just looks super scrawny and super tiny. So that's the only issue I've seen. Other than that, there's not really a whole lot wrong with Watch Dogs 2, at least with the way it looks. I am a little concerning about the gadgets, the co-op, the story mode. A lot of that stuff I am worried about. But that's another video for another day. That pretty much wraps it up though, guys. Let me know. I've dropped a couple of facts on you guys. I know it's a lot to take in within an 8-minute span, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I want to know what your favorite Ubisoft game is so far. Mine is definitely Rayman, next to Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, but you know, I have a bias, so let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Make sure to hit that like button on this video, and I will catch you guys next time. Make sure to keep it canon.